Hello, Chris Codinas, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. And then I post the video back up to Facebook with the title of the same name. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, your city, Psychology Today will pop up, click on that, and it will have qualified therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, done. So it is looking more and more likely that Portland is going to be canceled. So I'll make the official announcement on Sunday, but just a heads up, I think Portland is going to be canceled. I think we're done touring for the year. So sadly, so there is that because of COVID and political unrest and all that sort of fun stuff. So anyway, if you have bought your ticket from Eventbrite, they for some reason are not doing refunds. We'll refund you, so we'll get that ticket price back to you. All right, so there's that. So, but I'll make the official announcement on Sunday. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Portland's not going to happen. So anyway, so I wanted to do some Q&As that I did not get a chance to get to. Would you consider doing a future episode on being abused by siblings? So sibling abuse, both when you're a child and when you're an adult. Yes, I would like to do that. So this week, what I'm going to be talking about is getting out of the fog. So I want to talk more about cognitive dissonance. I want to talk about why it's so hard for us to leave, how we get trapped in the fear, the obligation, and the guilt, and how to get out of that. So that's what this week is going to be about. Next week, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, I'm going to do the dealing with siblings. So yeah, anyway, that'll be that. Question, how do you counter parental alienation? Okay, if you are considering leaving an abusive spouse, you want to read this book. It's called Splitting. It is by Randy Krieger and Bill Eddy. It is phenomenal. And it's what you need to know because it basically lays it out. How are they going to act? What are they going to do? And how you can protect yourself. And parental alienation is covered in here. So, yeah, this is a great book. Read it. So what you want to do is you want to have a really, really good attorney, number one. And you want to make sure that you make sure that there's in there that the kids get to have counseling. And it cannot just be them picking the counselor. It has to be approved of by both of you people. And if you don't like them, unfortunately, this also goes both ways. You can get a different counselor, but it has to be approved by both. Counseling for the kids is honest to God mandatory. Seriously, if you're divorcing an abuser of any shape or form, the kids are going to need it. They need a safe place where they can go, oh my God, about both parents, because this is extremely stressful for kids. If they are not verbal enough, if they're not cognitive enough to do that, play therapy, sand tray therapy. That's wonderful for kids to help them process. Parental alienation is when one parent decides to withhold the child from the other parent. And they do this various ways. It's either physical, like they physically remove the child and do not allow the other parent to see them. They don't allow them to get phone calls. They don't allow them to do FaceTime. They do all of this. Or they then talk to the child and tell the child all of the things about the relationship that the child simply does not need to know about, painting the other parent in a bad light. So bad-mouthing the parent, putting them down, calling them names, getting the child to understand this is what they do. They're such manipulative little pieces of, they make it clear to the child, verbally, non-verbally, that you need to side with me and not the other parent if you want to be safe. And so what ends up happening is that the kid hears all of this adult crap that they don't need to be hearing. They come back from a visit with mom or dad, whoever the disordered one is, and then it takes several days for the kids to, and calm down and get back into a good routine with the parent who actually loves them. Meanwhile, the other parent who is the target of this parental alienation, it's weird weather, I got clouds going in and out. Anyway, they are the safer target. So the kids tend to act out with the safer target because here they are locked down with this, horrible abuser. And then they come home to somebody who actually loves them and is not going to abandon them. And then they act out. And then that parent is left going, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. This is what kids do when they are in an abusive situation. When they're with the abuser and they come home to the non-abuser, they're going to act out, and they're going to act out all the crap that the abuser has been shoving in their head because they're not coping with it. They don't know how to deal with it, which is why it's hugely important to get the kids with some sort of therapist so that they have a safe venue to tell them. And that way too, you have another set of eyes on it. So, and of course abusers hate that. So what you do is you never ever badmouth your other parent. You never badmouth them, because remember, that kid is 50% them as well. And so if you've got a parent that's like, oh, your mother, oh, your father, blah, 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 blah. This is how kids think, oh shit, do they love me too? Do they like me? Is it safe? Is it okay? So remember, kids are very egocentric. I do not mean that like a narcissist, okay? I mean that as in they internalize and make things about them. So like if something completely not related to them happens, like, you know, grandma dies or grandma has a stroke and grandma and kid had an argument, the kid will go, oh my God, I made grandma have a stroke. You know, even though the argument was like 2 months ago. Do you see where I'm going with that? Kids have this very magic thinking, and you've got to be very careful of that. You've got to be very aware of that when you're dealing with kids. So you deal with the parental alienation by being honest with the children, but not name calling. So you can let the kids know this is not normal behavior. Normal parents support each other. Normal adults don't drag kids into stuff. This is stuff you don't need to know. You don't need to worry about. One of the classic ones that I see is the abuser telling the child, well, I can't get you school clothes, or I can't get you shoes, or I can't get you this because your mother is bankrupting me and I don't have enough money to make rent, fill in the blank. And now the kid is terrified that their parent is going to be evicted, you know, or that there's not enough money. Lack and scarcity, lack and scarcity. Boy, I'll tell you something, abusers love lack and scarcity when there is none. And the crazy thing of it is the worst offenders of this I have seen come from multimillionaires. It's amazing. It's like they're sitting on a shit ton of money, and yet they're telling this kid that they don't have enough money to get them shoes or to, you know, get them a decent bed, you know, or whatever. Do you see where I'm going with that? I mean, because apparently daddy or mommy needs a new speedboat. What the fuck? So yeah, so things are always more important. Money is always more important to a narcissist than a child, or what a child might need. So dealing with parental alienation, you never badmouth the other parent. You do validate the dysfunctional behavior. This is not normal, guys. This is not how normal parents behave. You don't need to worry about the money issue. That's an adult issue. And then you are going to have that conversation with the other parent. Of course, they're going to deny it. They're going to go into gaslighting and denial and rewriting history and all the sort of fun stuff that every single narcissist on the face of the planet does. But what they're going to do is you're going to bring it up to them and be like, hey, we don't need to be discussing with the children adult topics. This is causing them harm. This is why you want a therapist that can back your ass up on that. Does that make sense? And then they can take notes, etc., because then you're going to go back to court and try to get more custody. So anyway, the point being, do you see where I'm going with that? Is that you let them know. It's like, this is not normal. This is not healthy. This is harming the child. You need to stop, you know, and you need to stop bad-mouthing, and I never bad-mouth you, and I never will. You know, that kind of, you can take the high road. So, and of course they'll come back at you and, I never said that, I never did that, he's lying, she's lying, blah, blah, blah. They'll blame the kid. They're just, oh my God, they're reprehensible. Anyway, so yeah, it is an ongoing situation, and basically it is almost like a spiritual battle. You are in a battle for this child's soul, basically. So they're on one side trying to make this child hate you, right? And hate everything that you are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This kid is in the middle. You're on the other side trying to help this child be able to be somewhat healthy and normal given this crazy situation over here. And, you know, you're constantly battling. All right. I hope that answered the question. Okay. My family of origin spread rumors that I am a drug addict now that I've recognized the abuse. Oh boy. and went no contact. I have a medical marijuana card to help with night terrors and CPTSD. Tips to protect myself. So here's the deal. You cannot control what they say. They are going to say and do whatever it is their little crazy hearts dictate to them to say and do, okay? You can't control that. What you can control is your response to that. And your response to that should be crickets. Let me just say that again. It should be crickets. Crickets, like chirp, nothing, chirp, nothing. Do you see where I'm going with that? It should be absolute silence. Absolute silence. What a narcissist wants is for us to get on the ropes, just like in boxing, right? You know, when somebody's on the ropes, boy, their opponent has got them, right? And so when a target of abuse is on the ropes, that means that they're on the ropes and they're trying to defend themselves. But that's not true. But this, and all that's doing is giving them something to fight against. So this is a lot like Kung Fu. Okay, when you are dealing with an opponent, you do not meet anger with anger. You do not meet head on, because this gives them something to fight against, right? What you're going to do is you're going to let them say and do whatever they're going to do. I'm coming at you, I'm coming at you, I'm coming at you. Whoop, boop. And you let them take themselves down to the ground with their own energy. That's Kung Fu. So basically what you're doing is you're doing a verbal form or a mental form or an emotional form of Kung Fu. You let them take themselves down to destruction with their own hatred. They're going to say and do whatever they want. You cannot stop them. And defending yourself will do absolutely goose egg. It won't do anything. Why? Because they have already committed themselves to your destruction. They've already committed themselves to misunderstanding who you are. They've already committed themselves to smearing. Okay? Narcissists do not change. Leopards do not change their spots. Narcissists do not change behaviors. You cannot stop them from doing what they're doing. They're going to do. You know what you do? You rise above and you just block the hell out of them. Block, done, finished. They can go running around to whoever the hell they want. Your tribe will know who you really are. And if they choose to believe the worst of you, they're not your fucking tribe. Does that make sense? All right. So, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with medical marijuana cards. I have so many clients that are veterans and they've got PTSD, and I'll tell you something, it helps them. It does. So, you know, if anybody's going to be making fun of somebody for taking medical marijuana, they can kiss my hind end. So anyway, there it is. All right. What can an adult child of a psychopath do to leave their environment as soon as possible? And it's hard to prove the abuse, like within days or so. Well, sorry, I didn't get to this one quickly. Sorry. It takes me about half a week or so. All right. So when you're an adult child and you are living in an insane environment, right, you are going to need every single social resource you can get your hands on. You are going to need to go to, you know, Catholic Charities or Jewish Family Home Services or the universities or Fresh Start Women's Resource Center. Those are all here in Arizona. I don't know what's out in the rest of the world, guys. I only know what's in Arizona because that's where I live. So you're going to need to get your resources together. You're going to have to reach out for help. You're going to need somebody to help you with housing. You're going to need to have somebody help you with grants. You're going to need to have somebody help you. Do you see where I'm going with that? With food stamps. You're going to need somebody Department of Economic Services. Oh my God. Anyway, you contact all of the state agencies. You contact Access to get onto the medical insurance. You contact the economic development. I can't think of the damn name of it. See, my brain is gone. So you contact all these agencies to get food stamps, to get housing, and you get out, you know, and you contact domestic violence advocates. So if you're in a situation where, okay, it's hard to prove, but yet you're feeling the need to get out of there and you're an adult child of these people, then you contact the domestic violence advocates and you let them know. It's like, this is all verbal. This is all emotional. It's not, there's not been any physical, but it's all verbal and it's emotional. That is abuse. That is still abuse. Now, of course, with DCS, you know, if there's verbal and emotional abuse going on, they can't really do anything. All they care about is if the child is being clothed and fed and sheltered. That's really it, and that's really pathetic. It should be more than that. They should be caring whether that child is being screamed at and called names. They're overwhelmed as it is, but you know, there it is. So you start doing things. You get your safety plan together. You figure out who you can call, who can you who can you stay with, who can you, to stay with to get back on your feet, who can help you, that kind of thing. You get a safety plan together. If things get really bad, where can you bug out to? Do you have all of your stuff packed up? Do you have your medication packed up and ready to go? Do you have clothing? Do you have your driver's license? Do you have cash? Do you have, and you get all of that stuff together and you get a bug out bag. That's really important. A bug out bag is hugely, hugely important. When you're planning on leaving, whether it's a domestic violence situation within a romantic relationship or with a family or anything, you need a bug out bag. You need to have something that you keep at work or keep somewhere else that's got all your stuff in it that you need. So like birth certificate, driver's license information, unless you keep it on you, money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all the important documents, you need to do that. And then you contact the different social agencies to help you. So that's really important. I hope that answered the question. Okay, question about families that have gone through a lot of drama, terror, war, baby death, concentration camp. Do they need a child to be the scapegoat and be the excluded person who has to digest it all? No, not every family that goes through trauma is abusive. I just want to make that very, very clear. So Viktor Frankl, I think I've mentioned him before. He survived the Holocaust. He went on to write Man's Search for Meaning. Okay, and many people that came out of the Holocaust, horrific things that nobody should ever have to see. But they didn't all go on to become abusers. So abusers are abusers, regardless, okay? So does trauma cause PTSD? Yes, it can cause PTSD, but it does not cause abuse. So I hope that answered the question. Okay. Can you go from being the abused one to becoming the golden child? Okay. Yes, you can. They switch roles to whatever suits them. So, and I didn't bring my book out, but in my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad, available on Amazon, shameless plug, I talk about how all of us got switched in our roles. It's like, one time my middle sister was the scapegoat, then it was me, then it was my oldest sister, then it was my brother, then it was my other sister, then it was, it was crazy. And it depended on what suited the abuser at that moment. If I was making my dad look good, then he would claim me and be proud of me and, oh, this is my daughter and da-da-da-da-da. But if I was doing me and not, towing the line and being a little mini dad, then I was suddenly the scapegoat and I was the problem and I was the reason why he couldn't retire, and I'm spending all of his money by merely existing, which is funny because he didn't pay for jack shit. So, yeah, don't get me started. So yeah, you can absolutely, they will switch. They will make us switch roles depending on what suits them at the time. Okay. My narcissistic mother-in-law is supposed to move out at the end of the month, but hasn't even started looking for her place. We need direction. Do you have any advice for my husband and I to handle this? That's a tough one. You're going to have to make it extremely clear she needs to be out. You need to start packing her stuff up for her. You might need to find a place for her, because remember, they do learned helplessness, learned victimhood. I can't do this. I'm old. I'm frail. Meanwhile, they're like sticking knives in the back of everybody, and they're not old or frail. So you're going to have to make it extremely clear that she's going to need to be out. You're probably going to have to pack up her stuff for her. You're probably going to have to find a place for her, and you're probably going to have to move her. And then once that's done, be done. So, I mean, it could get really ugly. If you do evict her, it'll drag out. Trust me, this will be the greatest show on earth for her. They enjoy the drama. Honestly, a healthy, normal person, when they know they're not wanted, they're like, okay, peace out, see ya, and don't want to be ya. You know what I'm saying? But somebody who's narcissistic, this is like, oh, goody, goody, I get to have drama. Oh, I get to keep things going. Oh, that's fabulous. So yeah, so I would talk to your husband about actually finding a place for her and getting her the hell out as quickly as possible. So yeah. Other than that, you're going to have to look legally. You're going to have to talk to an attorney, which you don't want to go that route. If you can get this woman out, even though it's a pain in the ass and you're having to do the legwork and you're having to box stuff up, trust me, in the end, it'll be worth it. So anyway, any advice for narcissists and families' birthday coming up? Sorry, I just switched topics, but I have my kiddo's birthday coming up and there's already raising hell and I got a week to go before it's done. Okay. It depends on what level of contact you are with the narcissist. I would be very careful about inviting narcissists to birthday parties because what they do is they ruin them. They ruin birthdays. They ruin holidays. They ruin anniversaries. They ruin anything that doesn't have to do with them. And even sometimes if it does have to do with them, I've actually seen narcissists even ruin their own birthdays because they're crazy. So yeah, so you want to be very careful about that. It depends on your level of contact. If you are low contact to no contact with the narc, ignore their birthday. There's no reason for you to, make a big fuss about their birthday. Family birthdays. Okay. So, with the kid, if it's the child's birthday and it's the child's parent that is the narcissist, that's a little bit dicier. If you're having contact, with them, then there's a couple of things you could do. You could have 2 birthday parties, one for the child with the family and friends that the child likes, and then you can have another one that's a smaller gathering where the narcissist comes just in case they decide to ruin it, in which case the original party has already been done. So that's one way to do it. The other thing of it is, too, is that, if you don't have to invite them, don't. But if you have to invite them, then you got to try to make it as narc-proof as possible. So what I like to do, and this is what I recommend for people having weddings, or birthdays, or anything else in a normal year where we're not, quarantined, isolated, curfew. Don't get me started. I would recommend assigning someone to be that person's literal bodyguard. So, for example, when you're dealing with an overbearing family member at any event, whether it's a wedding, a funeral, a birthday party, whatever, you have a friend be their tag-along kind of thing, and you keep them busy. So when you see them starting to go for the drama, oh, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, I really need your help over here right now. Can you come help me? They're not going to say no in the middle of a crowd. So yeah, you assign somebody to distract. So yeah, you need somebody who speaks narcissist fluently. Basically. So when you're dealing with oh, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, you're fabulous. Thank you so much for helping me with this. Gosh, I couldn't have done it without you. Oh my goodness, look at you. You're so, fawning, right? Because narcissists love that. So if that one friend would be willing to do that, that would be fantastic. So yeah, and I have had to do that for certain friends. So, okay, so that's what you do. And you just be aware that they are going to try to ruin. This is what narcissists do. They don't like happiness. They don't. They really, honest to God, they do not. They do not like happiness. They don't enjoy it. They don't like it, not even their own. And I have seen narcissists even ruin their own birthday so that they can then play the, oh, absolute victim. Oh, I had the worst birthday. It was ruined. And it was ruined because they ruined it. But they'll never take responsibility for that. So, okay. Malignant narcopath is an alcoholic addicted to marijuana, uses cocaine. I'm not sure who he was. The fear I have of him is that he's well respected in the community. Okay, so this is common, guys. Again, if you've read my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad? My dad was an attorney. He was a city attorney for 2 different cities. He was well respected. He was also batshit fucking crazy. So eventually the mask slipped and people could see how disordered he was. And the reason why I named the title of my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad, is I was in the drugstore and this woman walked up to me and she said, oh, you're so-and-so's daughter. And I said, yes, waiting for what, what's going to happen. Yes. What's wrong with your dad? And I laughed and I looked at her and I said, you got 4 hours? And then I said, look, I got to go. And then I left because, you know, clearly he was disordered. And so the mask slips. People start seeing it. The older they get, the less supply they get, the more the mask goes bye-bye. Okay. So don't worry about it. They're going to do what they're going to do. Let them do what they're doing. You worry about you. You work on self-esteem. You work on boundaries. You work on deal breakers. Whatever they're saying or doing, none of your business. You let them just go. All right. My ex only showed empathy and did nice things when he had done something wrong. So he love bombed. And especially when he thought I would leave. Could he be a narcissist? And what is the difference between narcissism and borderline? Okay, so let me quickly explain the difference. And again, it's not traits of borderline. Okay, when I'm talking about a malignant borderline, I mean like full-blown, they are enjoying it. And 9 times out of 10, they've got both. They've got both borderline and narcissism. So let's go through borderline personality disorder, 663. Hang on just a second. So borderline is born of trauma, and they develop maladaptive ways of dealing with abandonment. And what's the problem of it is, though, is that if they have also narcissism, they've got all of the maladaptive stuff of narcissism on top of the maladaptive ways of not being abandoned, and at some point, the really malignant ones really start enjoying it. So when I'm talking traits of, these are the ones I will work with until the cows come home, because they're willing to work on the trauma. They get to a certain point, though, they're not willing to work on the trauma. They don't want to work on the trauma. They don't want to have to relive it. They don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to have to do the work. And that's dangerous for them, because now they're sliding into malignancy, because it's just going to continue. It's just going to continue. Things are just going to continue to happen, and they're going to be wandering through life, literally running into walls going, but why is this happening again? Because you're not working on the original trauma. And so, and or they enjoy the drama, and that's not good. Okay, so borderline personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of instability in interpersonal relationships. So in other words, they cannot maintain friendships, jobs, etc. They're always having an argument with somebody. They're always mad at somebody. Somebody has to be the villain. They have a problem with self-image and affects and markedly and affects and marked impulsivity. So they're very impulsive, extremely impulsive. Beginning in early adulthood and present in a variety of conditions, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. Number 1, frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Imagined abandonment. So even in their head, it's like they even sense that somebody is going to abandon them. They will do the preemptive abandonment. They'll start a fight with somebody. They'll call them out. They'll yell at them, scream at them, and push them away on purpose in order to be the one that abandoned, as opposed to having been abandoned. Does that make sense? That's very maladaptive. A pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized between alternating extremes of idealization and devaluation. So I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you. That's literally what they do. Number 3, identity disturbance. Markedly and persistently unstable self-image and sense of self. They do not know who they are. They don't. It's like if you ask them who they were and what they like. So remember, this is what happens with trauma. This is a trauma indicator right here. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they like. They don't know what they want. You know, there's no sense of self. Number 4, impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. Spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating. Gambling. That's another one. I don't know why they left gambling out. That's also a self-destructive thing. Number 5, recurrent suicidal behaviors, gestures, or threats, or self-mutilating behavior. So self-mutilation is usually because of the overwhelming numbness and a desire to feel. And so when you cut, and if you've got an abusive family and emotions were not allowed, or there was a lot of abuse, or there was a lot of trauma, and it's not okay to feel, it's not safe to feel, it is safe to cut, because you can feel that and you feel alive. And that's part of the reason why they do that. And that can be worked on. That can be worked on. A safer alternative would be ice cubes, or if you need to see the red, you can take a red marker and do that. So, you know, it just depends. So, So there that is. Okay, number 6. Affective instability due to a marked reactivity of mood, intense episodic dysphoria, irritability, or an anxiety usually lasting a few hours or rarely more than a few days. So mood swings, mood swings, mood swings. Number 7, chronic feelings of emptiness. Number 8, inappropriate, intense anger or difficulty controlling anger, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, or recurrent physical fights. So they take everything personally. Everything is personal. Everything is directed at them according to their thinking, okay? And the thinking is chaotic. The thinking is not true. And so their brain says, oh, well, this person made a face at me and it's at me. It's because of me. It's because of something I did. And so then they become enraged or, hurt or angry or whatever and start, getting very, very upset over something that has nothing to do with them. Number 9, transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. So that is BPD. All right, now NPD, which is, hold on, 669. All right, so this is narcissistic personality disorder. A pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, a need for admiration, lack of empathy, beginning in early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts as indicated by 5 or more of the following. Has a grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commiserate achievements. Is preoccupied, number 2, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. Number 3, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people. In other words, other esteem. So they're getting their esteem from others. So by associating with high standing people or places or things, they think that reflects on them and that's who they are. That's an illusion. Number 4, requires excessive admiration. Number 5, has a sense of entitlement, unrealistic, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. So this is when they will say, jump and you'd better tell me how high, or they walk into a restaurant an hour and a half after their reservation and still expect to get a table at the best place on a Friday night. Not happening, but they demand it. And if they don't get it, they pitch a fit, seriously, or they try to bribe the maitre d' or whatever, They don't have a sense of other people at all. It's like other people are objects, no more than this pen to them, to be used. Okay, number 6 is interpersonally exploitive, takes advantage of others to achieve his or her ends. Number 7, lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Number 8, is often envious or often believes that others are envious of them. Number 9, shows arrogant, haughty behaviors and attitudes. So those are the diagnoses for BPD and NPD. Okay, let's see. I answered that. So love bombing is the realm of the cluster Bs. When somebody is love bombing, when somebody is showing these behaviors that we've been talking about for years here, that's a cluster B. Love bombing is a cluster B. The I love you, I love you, I love you, I hate you. The intermittent positive rewards. That's a cluster B behavior. And when somebody only shows empathy and only apologizes when they're caught red-handed, that's not a true apology. Narcissists don't apologize. Narcissists absolutely do not apologize. And if they do, it's a fake apology. I'm sorry I'm sorry but, I'm sorry you made me, or, oh, baby, I'm sorry, but then the behavior continues. So the only true apology is changed behavior. That's it. Anything less than that is a lie. So anyway, I hope that answered everybody's questions. So this week on the show, I'm going to be doing Getting Out of the Fog. Getting out of the fog. Why is it so difficult to leave? Why do we get trapped in this weird thinking that we have to save them or we have to fix them or we have to believe them? So I want to talk about the fog. I want to talk about the fear, the obligation, the guilt. I want to talk about the thinking, the cognitive dissonance. I want to talk about the cognitive dissonance about, incoming information is clashing with what our abuser is telling us, and rather than believing the truth, we're choosing to believe the abuser instead, and that is to our detriment and sometimes to our death. So yeah, I want to talk about getting clear of the fog. So anyway, there is that. Thank you so much. I hope everybody's doing okay. Stay safe. Stand up for what you believe in. Do not let anybody stop you. Don't allow bullies. Don't negotiate with abusers. Do not. So there it is. All right, kids. Love you. Be careful. Be safe. And I will see you on Sunday. Bye.